Welcome to New Game Plus, a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name's Kenny.
Nolan.
And this is episode 308, and it is a Patreon poll!
It is?
Pool.
I knew you'd forget.
I did.
Well, it's been 2 weeks since we've sat down together, and
Yeah.
it feels so weird because for years we never missed a week, and we still haven't missed a week, but
Right.
now with our retro recaps, it's just different.
Yeah, thanks to our awesome team. We're rotating folks in to cover for us on those episodes because it makes sense. Like
Yeah.
Huge thanks.
we've been around for those episodes, so it's fun to get other perspectives, and the guys did an excellent job. Bro Jim, Clint, and Garlisle.
Yeah, last week's retro recap was absolutely amazing. That was first thing. Second thing, League of Legends is absolutely killing it right now.
They are?
They
With
just
the
had
TV
their
show.
World Championship finals and had a record-breaking 73 million peak concurrent viewership. It's a lot.
Wow.
On Twitch?
Arcane, yes, on Twitch.
Wow.
Arcane, their animated series set in the universe, just released and also broke Netflix records, ranking number 1 in 52 countries within the week of its release.
Wow.
And the team at Riot, Nolan, I hope that I'm bringing you this information for the first time. The team at Riot is building... They've kind of announced freshly now that they are building an assist-based fighting game, currently codenamed Project L, that is still a ways out from release, but looks really good.
I haven't seen any of the screenshots, or I don't know if there's gameplay footage.
There's gameplay footage.
Okay. They announced this a couple years ago that they were going to be doing they were going to do all the genres, like an RPG, a fighting game, and something else. Is it the characters from League?
Yeah.
Okay, I might be down for that. Is it a 3D fighter like Tekken, or is it like Street Fighter or 2D?
3D.
Perfect.
They were going to do a 2D fighter, but now they're doing a 3D, I believe it's 3D,
Good.
3D assist-based fighter.
What does
like
that mean?
tag team. That tag team type stuff. Like, you got two characters that you're working with.
That could be cool. I bet if anyone can do that right, I bet Riot could do it.
If anyone can do it, Riot.
They could do it Riot, and I'll play it for sure. But it's probably going to be free to play too, just based on their models for League and stuff. So that's cool.
Now, your bearded friend over here has been shaking his head no the entire time.
Because he's a freaking old...
No one likes fighting games, and the people that do are deceiving themselves.
What?
Fighting games
Here was the problem.
What is
you
that?
set this up as a Nolan's going to be super interested in this thing, and lately all Nolan's been doing is playing action RPGs, and so I thought you were going to tell me they were jumping into that genre, and I was going to lose my ever-loving mind. Because yes, please, but no one wants a fighter.
I watched the first episode of Arcane. The hand-drawn animations are amazing. I've heard and believe that it is for League of Legends fans and not. Like, it's a prequel, so you don't have to know anything. Of course, there's fan service for those that do, but it's beautiful. It's telling an awesome story. Like, it's really cool.
Will it make me and others go back and play League of Legends? No. I only play good games. So they're smart for branching out of... They're bigger than League of Legends. They're bigger than gaming, I guess, now, because they're trying to branch out. I think it's smart. And also, Kenny, you're so wrong. So many people love fighting games. The fighting game community is massive.
Those people.
And there is a tournament called EVO every year, and it's back in person, I believe, for the next one. When that game comes out, it's for sure going to be on the roster, and it's for sure going to be the most viewed. Probably more than, maybe not more than Street Fighter.
They lean heavy into making this stuff streamable, doing big events, and so it's a genre that works for what they do as a company. And you're right, they haven't done enough to get some of us old players back, but every once in a while I get the itch. And if I ever do, I'm not telling you guys, because that's a hole I might fall into again someday.
I don't think you have the skill.
I didn't say I'd do well at it.
He's not talking about fighter. He's talking about getting back into League of Legends.
Yeah. No, League, not whatever.
If you get back into League, I'll join you.
This is interesting following your progression here, Kenny, because you started off shaking your head no, this is a really bad thing, and then somewhere throughout the course of this conversation just completely swapped polarities to be able to say that you're looking forward to League of Legends, liking this stuff.
So that making a fighting game is even working for people who are bitter because it's getting them.
Don't twist my words for the sake of a segue.
I'm just saying
that's so two-faced.
It is two-faced, and it's incredibly difficult to do. Like in our retro game of the week, Ikaruga!
Overview.
Ikaruga is a vertical arcade-style shoot-'em-up.
I guess.
What?
Already contention about the one most obvious style.
Yeah, what?
I'm sorry. It's not arcade style. It's an arcade game.
Yeah.
That was released by Treasure, developed, published by Treasure. This came out in early 2001, I think, in the arcades, but then took a little while to port over to home consoles, where it made its debut on Dreamcast. Since then, it's shown up on a whole bunch of stuff.
We played Treasure's first game that they ever developed on this podcast.
Is Treasure Shake Shake?
No,
yes?
I don't think. Or is it? But Nolan,
know.
are you talking about? Is Treasure the one with the different gun shooting things?
Gunstar Heroes.
Gunstar Heroes.
You said gun.
Swapping out the parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can have two different.
Yeah.
I get all our shooters mixed up, so I was making sure we were talking about the same.
And yes,
Treasure's
it is
quality.
Shake Shake, Kenny. Mischief Makers.
It is Shake Shake.
Look at my memory.
All right, Treasure's not quality.
Wow, hot takes. This game is... Let me talk about the core mechanic a little bit. I don't want to get into gameplay, but
don't.
No, I'm not going to.
All right.
It's very much defined by a unique mechanic around sort of swapping between two different modes of play, and this whole polarity thing is kind of the theme that works throughout the whole universe. Even though the game feels very literary in the way, which is a weird thing to say about a vertical scrolling arcade shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
In the way it's presented, it's not really story heavy. So I don't even think there's worth in talking about you being Shinra and trying to save this planet or whatever's going on, because you're not actually getting plot here. You're just getting jump in, move around, shoot like crazy arcade action.
I like the literary approach that they took or were gonna take, and was a little let down that it didn't go harder on that, because not even knowing what the game is, just looking at like the cover, I was like, okay, that looks cool. It's got like calligraphy on it, and it does not look like your typical like Gundam in space shmup. It looks like a completely different genre, and I was like, that's interesting. So I wanted a little more of that, but yeah, is there a story? Like you're saying, it's not worth talking about. Is there something?
Yeah, but it's super basic. Like a rebel pilot named Shinra, having nothing to do with the evil corporation from Final Fantasy VII, is piloting the Ikaruga that was given to him by the Ikarugans in the city of Ikaruga. I don't know if it's all of that, but it's some of that, to go out and defeat the enemies and like to overthrow this evil empire.
I'm gonna go fly my America into the enemies that I got from America.
The Americans from America.
Yeah.
That's too close to real life.
Okay,
yeah, you're right.
So it is the spiritual successor to Radiant Silvergun. It's a different game. We haven't played it yet on the podcast, but it is not, the story doesn't carry over. So yeah, this is just a standalone story. But again, like Kenny, I do agree with you. The story is not, it does present itself poetically, whatever you'd like to say.
Absolutely. It's dressing for the game.
Even the 5 stages are called 5 chapters. It's chapters within here, so it's very literary. But yeah, very little story. Very little story is going on here.
If we're gonna keep calling it literary, because I opened that can of worms, and we know how to beat a dead horse on this show, if there's anything good we do, I'm gonna say this is a short story, not a novel. It's not a super long game.
It's the longest game I've ever played.
Oh, well, yeah, but for reasons we'll have to get into later. But it is Shmup time, and for new listeners, that means that Dustin is hyped and says we suck at the genre the whole episode. So get ready, because that's what we have for today's episode.
We have played shmups such as Darius Twin, Tyrion 2000, Einhander, Star Soldier Vanishing Earth, Ray Force, and out of all of those, these two guys, one, are trash at the genre for some reason, and then two,
False.
Do not give it the credit that it deserves often.
False.
I only give credit to good games that I think are worthy of giving credit to.
Kenny, there's no way that you have, for your hand-eye coordination...
His hand, raising the hand is hilarious.
I have never tried to say I'm good at video games. I have never said that you're not better at this genre than I am, but I also don't completely negate it. I love a good shoot 'em up. I don't love games that are punishingly difficult for no reason. And I find that sometimes this genre can lean that way.
Star Soldier Vanishing Earth is the only shmup I like. Let's go.
Before we do,
okay, what?
As mentioned, this is a Patreon pool.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
So it was submitted by Korgster, and we got to play it for 2 weeks because of our retro recap. 2 weeks. So 2 weeks of brutal punishment as we played Ikaruga.
Gameplay.
The funny thing is, Ikaruga presents itself in a simplistic fashion. Okay. Yeah. And really, the genre is somewhat simplistic. You are flying up the screen, or usually in vertically, obviously, always in vertical space shooters, or to the right in the side-scrolling ones. But you're flying a single direction, and you're a ship that shoots other ships. In this game, you've only got 3 buttons, right? You've got a swap and a shoot and a missile launch. So again, it presents itself very simplistically. Even the idea, the base idea of this polarity, which is going to be the root of our discussion, I'm sure, is somewhat simplistic in nature. You've got 2 colors, black and white, and the enemies have 2 colors, black or white, and you want to take in, the thing that makes it different here is you take in the same color bullets that your ship currently is, and that's good. You take in the different color bullets, and that's bad. And then when you shoot enemies of opposing colors, that's good. I'm starting to get a little bit complex there, but my point is that it starts out, or at least presents itself very simplistically, and it is far from it.
This mechanic had me snoozing out the gate, the polarity switching. I was not having it. I was like, here we go again with another shmup trying to stand out from the other shmup formula, which is simply dodge and shoot, and let's make it different and add this thing. I was not having the polarity thing. I didn't like it. Also, before we get going here, I do want to say, Kenny, you did a great first play. Just wanted to tell you.
Thanks.
Why did you say
I ignored all of Dustin's advice, and then it turned out to be really, really good.
You did.
So there's a lesson here.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the is it a core mechanic versus is it a gimmick sort of conversation front, you're firmly in the gimmick camp, Nolan?
Yeah, on that piece, yes.
I feel myself like...
No, ask me!
Don't ask him.
No, I know where you are. What everybody does.
No, wait, maybe he didn't like it. Ask him.
Okay, gimmick or core mechanic?
Well, let me just say that I don't think gimmick means bad. I think, but my answer to you is yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
To both.
Cop out or non-answer?
No, it is absolutely a gimmick.
Sure.
But can gimmicks be done well and with expertise? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is a core mechanic, 1000%. You've got to master it. And it's going to take a lot of work.
You don't have to.
Well,
You're right. You don't have to play the game, but if you're going to play the game and you're going to be successful at it, you've got to master the mechanic, and it's a deep one. So I think for sure it is a gimmick, but also for sure it's a core mechanic that's really well thought out.
I don't know what it is about that managing the different polarities that just turned me off to the game. Because the more I played it, I was like, okay, I will get used to this. And I did. But when I go into a shmup, my expectation is dodge and shoot and not, like, turn my brain off. It's almost one of those games that's just like, I don't want to have to think too hard when I play it. And shmups are difficult. Pretty much every shmup that I've ever played is pretty challenging. And Kenny mentioned or hinted at this, but Dustin's advice to Kenny when he went into this game was play easy mode, because there are 3 modes: easy, hard, or easy, normal, and something else, challenge or something. And
impossible.
Of course, he did normal instead of easy, but the big difference there is that on normal mode, enemies of opposite polarity or enemies of same polarity, opposite, same, shoot at you.
Same. Yeah, once they die, I think.
Yes, okay. Then on easy mode, that doesn't happen. It's more of like scripted shooting, like a normal shmup is what I would call that. And honestly, I think you can play easy mode the whole way and get a great experience out of the game. I don't think you have to do normal. You certainly don't have to do the hard one. I didn't even click that one. But I actually also ignored your advice and went for normal first and tried to stick to that, because I guess to me that's probably how they intended you to experience the game, even though it's harder, way harder.
Well, they intended you to experience the game originally in an arcade with only 3. It's one-hit death, by the way, which a lot of these are. It's one-hit death. And so you only have 3 lives. So... Okay.
Yeah, no.
So like ridiculous. you can lose all 3 lives before chapter 1 begins. Because in a lot of these chapters, they've got an introductory section, which chapter 3, the introductory section is ridiculous. I thought I had completed the stage and I didn't. I didn't even start the stage. And so it set it up to play in an arcade and eat up your coins. An arcade game where you're not going to get to the end of it unless you're a millionaire. And so when it was brought to the Dreamcast, or when it was brought to the console, they gave you a whole lot more flexibility to play. In fact, another caveat that I would add to you guys if we were rewinding time is, hey, the best way to play this game is to immediately go into options and put infinite lives and infinite continues, because that will at least allow you to keep playing. Period.
And I had to do that in order to talk about this game on the episode. It's one of those where it's like you're not gonna progress unless you spend way longer than a week with it to get to master it.
Absolutely. That only goes so far, though. The problem is if you die on a difficult area, your screen is already flooded. Even if you have infinite lives, you're coming back to the fact that everything has already fallen apart.
Yeah.
And to some degree, you're not ever like catching back up to a place where you feel like you could be successful again. Maybe during some transitions, that's the case. But yes, to see all of the game, if you're not great at it or going to grind it out for like ever to get really good at exactly the sequence of everything coming on each level, which we're never going to do in a week. Some of us never going to do in a year. It's just impossible. And so even when you're playing it on infinite lives, infinite continues, it's just going to feel like dying again and again and again, and you're not going to succeed at anything.
Yeah.
Partly because boss fights, interestingly enough, are, well, not optional, but they're points-based, and they're on a timer, which is an interesting mechanic here. You have so much time to kill a boss, and if you don't do it in that time, peace out, we're moving on. You just don't get the points. Thoughts?
Well, everything is optional in this game. Not everything, of course, that's hyperbole. But so many things are optional. I think honestly there are too many options. I guess it's fine to like. I believe that you can beat this game without firing a bullet. It's interesting.
I didn't think about
Kenny,
that.
you
Not
can. What are you talking?
You say you as if you're like talking to an entire audience. A person, theoretically, it's possible to do this thing. It doesn't mean you can do it.
Well, then let's just stop. I mean, then you can't. Then don't talk about the boss leaving because you're not going to get to a boss. You're not going to even. You're not going to.
I got to a boss and then I had it leave.
It's like
not on 3 lives.
Yeah, I mean the first boss is easy to get to.
No, it's not.
Interesting.
No, it's not. Nothing is easy about this game.
The first level ramps you in really gently. I got to where I could clear the first level without dying.
Yeah,
without that much difficulty. As soon as you get to chapter 2, though, the script flips and I couldn't do anything ever. So like, come on.
The boss leaving I don't like because it's a boss. That should be a wall that you must defeat to progress in the game, and so it felt like, hey, you suck, I'm leaving. Like, okay, fine, get out of here. I don't like it, Kenny. But Dustin, what you said about options is interesting because I'm with you, but I don't know if there are too many. Because they're optional. Like, but let's talk about the rule of threes. That option that is not required, but actually really stood out to me. So in the game, there's this, like, I guess it's a hidden mechanic. They don't explain it. I mean, there's a HUD that indicates it, but if you shoot 3 ships in the same polarity, you get a score bonus. Like, you get more points than you otherwise would have if you just shot white, black, white, black, white, black.
Right.
And so this is actually the moment that it clicked for me, the polarity shifting, and where I was like, okay, because I could see what the developers were intending to do in some of these screens, because, as shmups, it's not always just like a flow of ships. Well, I mean, it is, but you go into different...
They circle around.
Yeah, it changes. And they added this... They slowed the pace of a shmup down that I haven't seen in the genre yet, that I really liked, because it made you think, like, okay, I could just shoot all of these, but I started thinking, like, but how do they want me to get more points out of this? And that's where I started to be like, all right, like I started to understand what they were going for in this game, and it's optional. You don't have to do that thing. You can just shoot and progress.
When you do, and both for progression in general, because there's times that you're trying to like just stay alive and swapping polarity, there almost becomes a puzzle element to this game where the difficulty is so many things are moving and so hard that if you don't figure out, oh, there's a pattern to these safe zones that I can identify and watch, or oh, there's a specific set of polarities that I should favor at these specific times, that is not always completely clear. You have to figure it out, and you have to figure it out relatively quickly. That was very interesting to me because it's a little bit of that fast twitch reaction kind of thing that you would expect from the genre, and a little bit more of a like, oh man, I gotta solve how this is even possible, that I really like the idea of, but flying into it real time. And for clarity, Nolan says that they slowed the game down a little with this mechanic because of how it wants you to think. This is not a slow game. You're still moving quickly. It's still very fast paced.
You compare it to some of these other shmups, dude, you'll see. Like, there's that one vent section where you have to shoot the vents and then slowly go like in and then left so you don't get hit by anything. That was extremely slow for a shmup, and I was like loving that section. And the other sections like it.
This is partly why I scoffed at the very beginning of the overview section, Kenny, when you even just said the genre, because this is clothed in a shmup, but it is far from your standard shmup. All the shmups that we played that I've listed at the beginning, they have their own intricacies or unique qualities about them, but they all fall into a very similar category. This one, while you are in a spaceship and you are vertically flying and you are taking out, while the foundation is the same, the gameplay is fundamentally and incredibly different from almost every other shmup that I'm familiar with. I think that this is more of a puzzle game than a shmup.
I disagree.
I think it has puzzle elements, but this is absolutely still a shooter.
I think it's still in the same category of all those other ones. I do. I think it's a shmup, and it's not clothed in anything, but they did introduce the puzzle things. And while it's in that same category of those, I think it stands out from others that tried to do, like the one that was the 2 layers, trash. We hated it. That was too much of a gimmick that didn't add value. This actually changes things a little bit.
Y'all are entitled to your own wrong opinions, but this...
You are too. I'm just disagreeing with you.
This... Right. Incorrectly.
No.
This...
It's not a puzzle game. It's a shmup.
It's absolutely a puzzle game.
Okay.
I'm assuming that y'all didn't play much because you cannot get through this game like you do other shmups. Other shmups take intelligent thinking, making wise decision based on what's on the screen, and this is not. This is played over and over again to learn the patterns and to and determine when you destroy things, when you don't destroy things. There are countless times where it is far better and easier and preferable, and maybe even only able to get through by not destroying things on the screen. In every other shmup, you're destroying whatever is coming through. You're holding down the shoot button, picking up power-ups or whatever, flying missiles, whenever, but you're holding down the shoot button. Here, again, you can beat the game or get through without even firing. And so it's not like the other shoot 'em ups. It's a puzzle game. You have to play it over and over again and learn the puzzle to be able to beat the stage. You cannot... I can go through, even on the first stage, we can all beat it now with no lives lost or just a few lives lost or whatever. But your first time through, you cannot, because you don't know the puzzle. You don't know how it works. And once you figure out the puzzle, you can do it. In any other shmup, you can beat the first stage by actively moving around the bullets and just being able to make those swift decisions and playing smartly. That's not what this game is.
If this game was legitimately a puzzle game, I would have been okay at it. You can't say it's just a puzzle game because it lives completely in shoot 'em up land still.
Yeah, I of course didn't say that it was just a puzzle game, but I did say that it is a puzzle game. And on top of that, it's the subgenre of shoot 'em up, which is bullet hell, which we haven't even referenced yet. And it's just a nonstop barrage of bullets, a manic shooter that is, fills the screen with these kinds of shots and their varying polarity, which makes it even more difficult.
Every shmup fills the screen and is bullet hell. I mean, a lot of them.
It's a popular style within the genre. I'm fine with that distinction. I'm not okay not calling this a vertical shooter because it's a puzzle game. That's ridiculous. And here's the thing. You say these puzzles are kind of the whole thing, but then you say you've got to just grind this game out and play it again and again and again and again to learn the puzzles. That's not a puzzle. That's just the kind of game design that we whine about. A puzzle you're presented with, and if you can figure it out, you can progress.
I think that's
what this game is.
I don't complain about that. I like that. I think games should be that: grinding, difficulty, learning, beating. That is the cycle of good game design, in my opinion. So I don't complain about that. I think that's good.
Can we do a little thought exercise? If 100 people play this game and have tried to beat it consistently and put time into it, 100 average gamers, and they decide, I want to beat this game on 3 lives, and they're given a month to play it and practice, they win $1,000 or something if they can do it in that time. But they've got to beat it for real. Normal conditions, 3 lives, normal continues. How many of those 100 are going to beat it in that month?
This isn't a thought exercise.
Normal gamers?
It is. Maybe normal shoot 'em up fans.
Well, that changes it then.
Okay, I mean, pick one. I don't even care.
If we're talking normal gamers, I'm going to say 5 or less.
Okay. Of those 5 or less, how many do you expect would beat it the first time they ever played through it?
0.
But what are you proving? What are you trying to prove?
What point is this?
That it's a shoot 'em up and not a puzzle game.
know that.
No one is going to figure these things out real time. You've got to.
I think y'all are agreeing.
I think you're arguing my point.
Yeah, I think y'all agree on this.
I don't think
Kenny's
you know
upset,
what a puzzle game is then.
Kenny's upset that you won't call it a shmup or a traditional shmup, and I agree. I think it is a shmup for sure, and it's in the same category as those others. But y'all are agreeing on the angle that you can't go in and just progress. You have to grind it out and learn the patterns. That's what y'all are both saying.
Yes, but that's not a puzzle.
You might not call it a.
I don't think
you played enough of this game. I don't think you played enough of this game because to be good at a shmup, it takes a certain set of skills that for some reason, and I don't know why, and I'm not even bragging, that for some reason I'm really not. For some reason, I've got that. I've historically had that.
You have the fast twitch, quick reaction of a normal shooter.
But that is not transferable to this, and you can do that, and you will die because, again, you have to play the stage over and over again to learn the pattern. It's not about making intelligent decisions. It's about learning the pattern. And once you learn the pattern, you can put we could call it puzzle pieces together, and you can solve the puzzle.
No, you said it's not about making intelligent decisions. Puzzles inherently are about making intelligent decisions.
It's not about making intelligent decisions on the fly. It's about...
This game is a punishingly difficult vertical scrolling shoot 'em up that you're going to have to grind your way through the patterns of. And yes, there are some puzzly elements to figure out how to do that, but it's not primarily puzzle driven. We're way in the weeds. Let's agree to disagree on these semantics and talk about this game some more.
No, we're not in the weeds. This is the field. This is the weed. Crop. This is the game. This is the conversation.
Look around you. These are clearly weeds.
No, this is the conversation. I don't know. Like, we're talking polarity. That's the game. That whole nature of it. It's 5 stages. It's a boss at the end of each stage. We've done all of that. The rest is...
Here's something. Despite there only being 2 polarities and like just the white ships and the black ships, and they shoot different colors, that sounds to me like very limiting, and that would get very repetitive. But I did think that further in the game, they get very creative with how they play around with that mechanic in some of the patterns, yes, that the bullets are coming at you, the different types of ships that you have to navigate. Like you said, Dustin, I think it's really interesting that you don't kill certain ships because it makes it easier for you. And I think that, like, it never got to the point where I was like, okay, this is the same thing over and over, but it should have, just given the definition of this polarity mechanic. But I thought they got pretty creative with it.
Yeah, I've seen people fall on either side of the aisle here and say that because of the black and white, it really just limits what is being done. But then I've seen others say that every screen has a challenge that's different than the one that's before it and the one that's after it.
Yeah, I fall in that camp.
Yeah. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know if you can tell yet, but I was never able. I could wrap my brain around the mechanic this week, but I could never wrap my skills around the mechanic this week.
It's janky for sure.
I don't know if I'd even say janky. I think it's expertly done, but I think it's such a
I just mean the disconnect from your hands and your brain. Like, I experienced the same thing. I was like, no, I knew what to do there, but I just got blown up. Like,
because your instinct is to quickly swap polarities after killing a ship, and that's the worst thing that you can do.
Yes, you should not do that. You have to get cozy, and you have to just dodge. You have to get really good at dodging.
Yeah. And you're almost playing one mode, and then playing the other mode. But like per screen, there will be sometimes you got to swap kind of on the fly to survive and get through things. But most of the time, it's like strategically do one color and then go back and like take advantage of the other color. And yes, it's not a surprise for me that even with you being the best of us at this genre, that you got just demolished at this game, Dustin, because it's just so impossibly hard.
It's puzzling.
Aged.
I hate the fan base.
Wow.
Because
Okay, Nolan.
in preparing for the episode, I'm seeing people rave about it like it's the greatest shmup ever created. And if you disagree with that, they think you're an idiot and you have terrible opinions. And I don't know why the game has that reputation. Going into it, I was kind of shocked that it, because to me, again, I don't think this stands out from other shmups. It's in the same category. It's a shmup. You put it on. It's an arcade game, but like it has this weird following that thinks it's like so good, and I just don't like people that shame others for, I don't know, liking other games.
Here's what I think it is. I think this is one of those games that came out, had a huge audience because it was brand new, and there were a lot of mixed opinions about. Some people were like, oh, this thing is novel. And then some people were like, oh, sure, it's beautiful, but it's weird and too hard and a little gimmicky. And people had opinions all over the map. But then 80% of gamers have moved on to something else. And this has sort of achieved cult popularity status within the fan base specifically of shoot 'em ups.
Which is
and because those are the only voices that are still talking about it so many years later, they're the people that love the game. And so over time, this game has gone from sort of a mixed bag sort of situation to a situation where the people that are still talking about it are in love with it. And arguably, the fans that are interested in this game are passionately interested in it. And it's maybe more popular today than it was on release. I think some of that, though, is this weird sort of cultural like phenomenon of the conversation itself.
Well, I'll tell you why I think this is the case. I'll try not to use the P word because obviously that brings some contention here. But
okay.
I think there is a superiority that is felt by people that are able to master a game like this. And really, any game you've got people that gamers that do that. But when you've got a game that's incredibly difficult and then you've got a subset of people that are even able to do that, they're going to feel really good about themselves, and then they're going to be very passionate about that game.
I beat Sekiro. I'm better than both of you.
Yes, yeah, see, there you go. There you go.
I'm gonna buy that as logic. You probably all know every single one of your friends that can solve a Rubik's Cube.
I must be friends with some morons.
Well, no, lots of people can't. I feel like it's that vibe. I've figured something out, and I'm gonna make sure people know about it.
I don't think that's it.
Those puzzle blocks. So? Oh my gosh, yes you do.
No, I don't, because I wasn't amazing at this game, and I don't think that's it. I think
that's my point. I feel like we're all missing each other. My point is that there are people that you're mad at the fan base. The fan base loves it and thinks it's epic because they can accomplish it and beat it, and you can't. So they're saying you're dog water.
No.
And if you have different opinions than me,
I think they think it's reinventing the genre. Like it's I'm trying to think of something to equate it to in another game genre. That like is just considered so artistic and amazing and above everyone else, when it's just like, no, it's a shmup. I don't think that no one can beat this. I don't think anyone has superiority and can beat this game.
Nolan, you said artistic, and we're to the point of the show where we generally talk about not gameplay kind of stuff, but we keep getting stuck on it. Let's talk about how this game looks and how it sounds and how it feels, and why in the world, when I knew this was going to be a contentious game, I described a vertical space scrolling shooter as literary. Like, this game is unique in a lot of ways beyond the stuff that we've been really stuck on. What stuck out to you guys the most on the experience of it?
So Nolan, the community is very bad. Just go back to the community. All right, so
just gonna ignore me.
It's incredibly packaged. I was so hyped when we drew it and so hyped when I started it because it feels epic. It looks amazing. It sounds spectacular, and it puts you into a shmup kind of world where everything looks familiar to me, and it sounds epic. So you gotta watch the video to see the dynamic shit.
Listening
I'm being
to this
raptured.
Podcast. The sun just came out in Nolan's room, and everything just got so bright and white, and he was washed out in this halo came around him.
Okay.
You gotta move into a cave to record.
So my point is that it presents itself incredibly well. I think some of that dies off because you are just stuck with those two colors, and everything is those two colors. From your ship to the bullets to the enemy ships, everything becomes that. So it kind of becomes a wash, but it's still artful in what it's trying to do. So again, I think incredibly packaged.
It's that monochrome foreground, but the background is colorful and has
layered,
plenty of scenery changes, which I always appreciate about shmups, where like it's not always just straight up like really old school ones. They'll like shift around, and like it feels like you're actually in the ship, and the backdrops are really pretty when they're colorful. I thought the presentation was great, and Kenny, I think you like exclaimed when you first put it on, you're like, this is gorgeous, and I think it is.
It's one of the prettiest, most like immersive games in this genre I think that we've played, and on both fronts. Like the visuals are stunning. They keep things moving. It looks great. The effects are clean and crisp, and it gets crazy, but I never felt like it was so busy that I couldn't tell what was going on. Like there was too much for me to handle, but it was never like overwhelming visually, which sometimes happens with this genre. But man, it just cradled you in this like beautiful experience. And on the sound front too, this game absolutely sounds amazing.
Well,
I at one point had my wife playing the game where she had the headphones on and I couldn't hear, and I was just watching, and I like my heart almost ached to get the full experience of dying continuously, but of doing so beautifully, because it sounds so good.
Well, that's, to me, more so than the visuals, that's the literary part. Outside of the like poems it feeds you or whatever, the little like corny lines, it's arrangements. And with shmups, it's typically like electric guitar, rock, or techno futuristic sounding. And so the fact that it was like like a score almost was definitely unique. And I agree. I think it's really pretty. The music.
I think one of the areas where the art really shines are the bosses. They're these big Gundam type, like monstrous, I don't know if monster, just big, gargantuan mech battles, and they're really cool looking. You know, very sci-fi.
Hard. Yeah, and they lean hard into that whole yin yang sort of two polarity look, and how the bosses like show up too, and the colors and the contrasts of what's coming at you, and it's a very thoughtful, unified game. Like the stuff they did, they were purist about, and I can appreciate look, sound, and gameplay. I can appreciate that. They could have done so many things here if they'd wanted to, and not be such a purist. You could have had, you know, more typical shoot 'em up collectibles where you like turn gray temporarily and get past a portion of the game that's too difficult because nothing can hurt you. They could have done so many things to water down what they were sticking to their guns to do in ways that even could have worked, but they didn't. And I respect that there was a vision for this game and that they stuck to it, even if it made for an experience that like punished my soul.
The game is fairly easy to play nowadays, actually, which is surprising because it started. Well, I don't know if it's surprising, but it's
fairly easy to get your hands on.
Thank you. Because it started in the arcade in Japan, and then it went to the Dreamcast in Japan, and then it finally made it over here. But it's fairly easy to play because you can play it on Steam or Switch for just a few bucks. It did go on sale, of course, these last couple of weeks because we're playing it, but also because it was the normal sale. But that it made it to the sale is
they listen. Yeah.
And then if you want a hard copy, I guess for your GameCube, you'd be paying $53 for used, $200 new. But again, just
did you look up the price of a cabinet?
I did, and it's one of the. We've talked about cabinets before. It's one of the incredibly rare ones. I had told you that on the website that I look at, there's a scale from 1 to 100. 100 being it's available anywhere, it's pretty easy to get. 1 being it's incredibly impossible to get. Right. This is a 1. They don't exist. There's none even for sale. Like they
wow,
they don't exist. So if you've got one, you can you are a glutton for punishment.
Wow.
But you could also probably make some money off of it.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. Going to begin with Kenny.
All right. Bear with me because this one's a little confusing for me.
Just don't take too long.
I'll try not to.
10 seconds.
I'm going to make a lot of assumptions here. I'm going to assume that everyone in the world is better than me at video games, which is not completely fair, but a fine starting place. I'm also going to assume that they are not, however, secretly androids, aliens, or folks that were raised in a Hunger Games-esque kind of society where you can only live by thriving at vertical shmups. Given those two things are true, most folks, even though they're better than me at video games, will do maybe slightly passably better at me than this game, but still find the difficulty way too high to truly enjoy. So I don't know. That feels wrong. That feels bad. It makes me want to say no New Game Plus, but then you flip the coin and you tell people just turn on unlimited continues and go through this experience, and it's going to be beautiful and stunning and gorgeous, and you're going to find yourself challenged and engaged at times, and then you kind of want to say it's a New Game Plus game. I have to choose one or the other, though. It's a really, really gorgeous, wonderfully made game. It's too hard for most people to enjoy. No New Game Plus from me. Best, I will say this. The best game we've played that I'm not giving New Game Plus to.
Wow. Okay.
Very impossible to follow, just like the game. All right, Nolan.
Here's the thing. I liked this game. Shmups usually suck, but this one added the puzzle-like aspect that really worked for me. I liked the moments where it really makes you think of what would be a more interesting way to go through this and get more points. I wish that the reward for doing the rule of threes thing, I wish there was something else you got other than points. I'm not a high score kind of guy, and that may be why I usually don't like this genre. I don't know. But even still, I really, really liked that, and it made me forget about how much I disliked the phase shifting, and it just became part of the game. I don't love it, but I like it, and if you're looking for a shmup that breaks usual conventions, I think it's pretty great. So, yes, New Game Plus for Ikaruga, surprisingly.
Okay, well, then it falls on me.
The shmup guy.
The shmup guy.
Interesting.
And so far, you've sounded
called the
not
shmup
like
guy.
you typically do in these episodes.
I had a first this week, and for the very first time, I don't know about in my gaming career, but at least in my Steam career, I returned a game.
What? How much was it?
I think I bought it before the sale started, so $10. I love shoot 'em ups. I don't like memorization games. And this is a game this is a game that is beautiful. This is a game that the mechanic was expertly done. The mechanic was expertly done. This is a game for some people that will fall in love with it, and after spending countless hours on it will be really good at it. There are some people that can one coin clear it. It's just it's hard for me to even imagine, but you play a game enough and you'll probably figure that out. But I think that this is the kind of game that is tailor-made for a cult following, not for the mass audience. I don't think that. I know that. It's obvious. It's not made for the general consumer. And I loved it, and then I hated it and did not have fun with it, and think the majority of people that play it will not have fun with it, because you can't get to the point where you're having fun with it, because you're not that good.
Love, hate,
and
polarity.
I'm not that good. And it's not even really about being that good, because I'm good generally at shmups, but this takes a totally different mindset. You can't come in just to have fun. You have to come in wanting to master it. And that is not me really with any game. I want to come in and have fun, and this is not that game for that.
I'm kind of with you, Dustin. I feel like a lot of games have a low to have a low floor and then a high ceiling. The floor on this game is so high. Like if you can beat it, you're already amazing at it, and there's no room for anybody else. Like, we're all well below the floor. So I get it.
And so there will be people mad at me, and I don't care. I get why you would like this. You and I just like different things. And so I would say no new game plus, which means
I can't believe it.
This Patreon pool 2-week played game called Ikaruga is not New Game Plus certified.
I think y'all are so wrong, but I'm happy it didn't get New Game Plus so that the fan base gets salty.
What did you think? We had 412 votes on YouTube. 37% said yes, it's worth playing today. 8% said no, go play something else, and 55% have never played it before.
Yeah, I had no idea this game existed.
But this will be on almost every top 10 shmup lists that are made.
Yeah, at number 1 on most of them.
Yeah.
Which I think is wrong, but
Lyrica. Many people wrote in, by the way, a dozen plus. Can't include all of the thoughts right now, but would like to include some of them. Lyrica said, Ikaruga, this was my first game I imported from Japan, originally played on the Dreamcast. The difficulty in this game is way up there, and this is a game that will push your skills to the limits. One of the greatest additions to these newer versions is infinite lives. Normally, people will shrug that off as removing all challenge and sense of progression. Wrong. It adds a new level of fun where you try to see just how many lives it can take you to get through. First playthrough, you're looking at least 200 lives. Subsequent playthroughs, less. Adding a new way to try and do better yourself. Most shmups are not like this in the slightest, making Ikaruga unique and unforgettable, and I feel that this game deserves NGP.
Wait, I got confused at the end. Does deserve New Game Plus?
Does, yeah.
Okay. I don't think it's forgettable.
Unforgettable. Follow me.
You cut out. Okay.
Ikaruga is unique and unforgettable.
Got it. Okay. It is
That's
unique.
Why you were confused.
It is unique. It is forgettable.
What?
No, it is unique and it's unforgettable. I will always remember it. But
Sucking
some
at
of those
it?
memories won't be so fond.
Okay.
Clint said, I had neither heard of nor experienced Ikaruga prior to it getting selected, and I've never been so glad to play a new-to-me game for the podcast. The difficulty goes without saying, but there's something extremely satisfying in being able to work through the first chapter, and then subsequent runs can be entirely about improving your score to grab extra lives. When I noticed I could try new waves of enemies by defeating earlier ones fast enough, my mind was blown wide open. I haven't even seen the latter half of this game, and I can see why it's lauded as one of the greatest shmups. If anything is going to get NGP vote from Kenny and Nolan, it's this one.
Huh.
Surprise.
Well. Half right. But I really liked it. And I've already said that, but I think it's overrated based on what I've read online.
It's so funny how inverted we are. Because like
so
we came
weird,
to the exact same place, but I'm like, this is an amazing game that absolutely deserves all the recognition, but most people aren't going to want to go play it because we're not good enough. So no new game. Like we're just complete polar opposites, Nolan. And it's
but then on top of that, you've got me, who people would have come into this episode thinking, oh, Dustin's going to like it, having to convince Nolan and Kenny, but then they don't understand how different of a game this is.
We all spent so much time this week swapping our polarity that we all swapped our own.
It's not a puzzle game, you fool.
You have said puzzle more times than
I
have.
You have. It is a shmup. 100%.
Barry said it's a shmup, but it's so different from all of the other shmups that I've played and I'm good at. Barry said, I'm confident that this could be the shmup to overcome Kenny and Nolan's shmup phobia.
Wow, y'all are wrong.
Because
everyone's
man,
mad at us.
Ikaruga is a tight experience. It's like the platonic ideal of vertical shooters, taking all the advancement of Raiden and Arrow Fighters and Gradius and Thunder Force, putting it all in a juicer and squeezing out pure gameplay. No fancy weapon upgrades or a big roster of characters or branching paths or whatever, just solid controls, an interesting polarity switching twist, and a variety of insane stages that force you to master that polarity mechanic in ever-increasing tense situations. It's not really enough of a game to justify a $60 GameCube disc, but now that it's a $10 download, you can treat it more like an action movie, a gorgeous, scripted, intense experience that you can pull off the shelf and revisit every now and again.
I like that. It is interesting. We didn't touch on too much, but I like the stripped down version of like not overloaded with upgrades and having to manage that. It's interesting to just kind of not have that layer to a shmup.
I don't know why his comment triggered this for me, but I wanted to ask you guys a question earlier, so I'm just derailing the show and quickly putting this question in. Did you guys play on controller or keyboard?
Keyboard.
Controller.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Then Dustin, this question's more for you. Did you rebind any of your buttons at all?
No. I think Dan kept telling me to rebind something, and I never got around to it.
I did make a change that helped me get twice as good at this game just by doing a key remapping, which isn't saying much. It was weird in my mind to be swapping the polarity as its own distinct action that made me like stop. So I moved it from right hand to left hand, where it became part of the action of what I was doing with my movement. And so the pro tip, if you want to try it and you're struggling with this game, your clickable D-pad, whatever.
L3.
Yeah. The L3 button is a really great place to swap.
I would mess up and do it on accident.
I like that.
And then this just becomes firing.
Yeah. I know Dan, I think it's Dan, was screaming at me right now since he said it, I think multiple times throughout the week, or someone did at least. But one of the things that Barry used the word scripted here, and I think that's what it... Never before in my life have I ever looked up a walkthrough or a guide for a shmup, because it's free play. You go out in the space and enjoy it. This one could use a walkthrough. And actually this week I looked up a guide, both written and video, to learn the stages, because it is scripted.
You're exaggerating.
No, we're not. Corkster, one more. Corkster, the one who submitted the game and is going to be heartbroken, said Ikaruga is like a swing dance. Swing dance is intricate, coordinated, sweaty, and a sight to behold. It takes days of practice and study for a minute or two of execution. It can be exhilarating to pull off and a whole lot of fun to boot. That said, the barrier to entry is high, and the need for a partner can make it hard to get into. If you're willing to step into it, though, there's a whole community of like-minded people ready to discuss the ins and outs of it and maybe introduce you to similar disciplines. But why are you swing dancing at my wedding? This is supposed to be my big day. I didn't ask you and your partner to put on a show. Wait, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, Ikaruga. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I think it's worth trying, even if you are unfamiliar with STGs and Danmaku games. It'll either repel you or suck you into something you didn't know you loved. That, I think, makes it worthy of being NG Plus certified. If you don't think so, maybe try changing your polarity.
I like that.
I like that.
It is sweaty.
For now, we're going to set aside our Ikaruga, and we're going to randomly select the next retro game of the week from our retro master list. We'll just be playing this one, sadly, for just 1 week. But you can submit your games to the retro master list by dropping them in our Discord. We've got game suggestions there, and then you could also just email us a list as well, and we'll get around to it eventually. There's a lot of games on the list, and from that massive list, we're randomizing now. We're going to be playing a beat-em-up platform game from the year 2000 on the PlayStation.
Y2K.
Does that sound bad to you, Nolan?
Yeah, that does not sound good.
You're doing the first play this week.
Yeah, I know.
Is it a puzzle beat-em-up game?
Yes. Is it a puzzle game?
I'm right. I'm very clearly right.
No, you're not.
And if you go back and listen through the episode, Nolan used the word puzzle and referred to it being a puzzle so many times, and now he's acting like it's not a puzzle.
I didn't even have puzzle in my notes. You brought that word into the discussion.
I did bring it into the discussion. That's fine. But then you agreed with me.
We also said the word shooter a lot of times, and it's not a first-person shooter.
I think y'all's problem is y'all got stuck on one thing where y'all thought that I said it wasn't a shmup, and I never said that. Listen to the tape.
You said it's not a shmup, it's a puzzle game.
This is a beat-em-up platforming game developed by Radical Entertainment and published by Midway. Again for the PlayStation. The plot is Jackie's grandfather has been kidnapped, and Jackie needs to get him back. Who? Jackie? Jackie who? Well, Jackie Chan Stunt Master.
Of course, Jackie Chan has a video game.
Yeah, so we're going to play
he does.
2 bad games in a row.
Yeah, no. This might be good. You never know. Michael Jackson's game was a sleeper hit. We all loved it.
I'm probably going to have to watch Rush Hour this week.
Yeah.
But I'll play the game some too.
This is definitely not a good game, I can guarantee you right now. But find a copy of Jackie Chan Stunt Master for the PlayStation and play it along with us this week.
Join us in Discord. We've mentioned it a couple times, but you can leave your thoughts on this game. And also you can leave some afterthoughts on Ikaruga. We have a latest episode discussion channel. So go to ngppodcast.com. Then click Join Us in Discord.
We want to say thank you to our amazing community, all of you, but especially to those of you who go above and beyond and support us on patreon.com. You can find links to that on our website, and you all know how to use Google. We want to say an extra large thank you to our newest patrons, those who have either started their patronage or upped their patronage to a higher level this week. And that includes Dan Willett, shout out, Ian Kegg, Tom Danks, and Mayroon's Dagon. Thank you guys so much for becoming patrons. We want to say thank you to our huge list of producer level supporters, who are the following people: Marley, Antonin, Ben, Bethany, Fox, Brunt, Carrie, Captain Protein, Dan the Man, TV Muppet, Francesca, Gimbin, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Clint, Corey, Lorelai, Matthew, Maximum, Mr. Lattes, Nawell, Secret Duck of Evermore, Shauna, Thomas, Unbelievable, Wardonis, William, and Zion. And the largest thank you that we know how to thank to Bro Jim, Garlisle, and Zachary. You guys are our directors, and you direct our hearts.
You can find us on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. And while you're at it, subscribe so that you're the first to get new NGP episodes. Leave a kind rating and review. This episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Jackie Chan Stunt Master. Until then, I'm still puzzled.
I'm still swapping polarities.
I'm still puzzle.
And this has been a non-contentious episode of New Game Plus.